I'm a heritage advisor. I work with museums, universities and other organisations across the South and Midlands. I specialise in military heritage and about half my work relates to that. This was the latest exhibition of the County Museums Service. Oxfordshire in 50 Objects, a celebration of 50 years of the service since the opening of the Oxfordshire Museum at Fletcher's House in Woodstock on the 19th of October 1966. Myself and my colleague Jenny Buxton, we designed it so that it was partly collaborative with partnership groups and partly an opportunity to work with colleagues past and present. And of the objects that were in the exhibition, half were chosen by community groups and half were chosen by former colleagues who we tracked down. It was a wonderful exhibition on which to work, and while Mark's been talking about thousands of artefacts, I'm just going to talk about one that I'd like to tell you about in relation to this. When we're working with both the former museum colleagues and with partner groups, I thought it would be useful just to have in my mind the sorts of interaction that visitors make with artefacts. And this is very much about thinking about the power of objects to inspire people, the main reason why people come into museums. First of all, strong narrative, an artefact should have that. That they should make an emotional connection where possible with visitors. That each artefact should enable visitors to gain a closer understanding of a truth. It sounds a bit highfalutin that, but it tells you that artefacts are embodiments of truths in the past, and where possible, could we try and represent that in our collection, in our exhibition. The objects take on different meanings through time. Was there a contemporary link that we could make with an artefact, even though it was 200 years old? Did it resonate with contemporary audiences? And perhaps most importantly of all, was there a strong personal connection? Could we encourage people to make choices which represented some sort of personal connection between themselves and the artefact? The artefact I'm going to talk about relates to Asylum Welcome. And my colleagues and I, we approached Asylum Welcome about a year ago, and we wanted to work with a group of refugees who had currently settled in this county. However, owing to their increasing workload at the height of the Syrian crisis and the refugees coming through the Mediterranean, that wasn't going to be possible. The Asylum Welcome were inundated with the need to work elsewhere. But their director, Kate Smart, she suggested to me that I contact their patron, a chap called Uwe Kitzinger, who lives at Standlake, close to the museum store. And I decided to take up Kate's idea. This is Uwe in 1950. He came to the UK in 1939. He was 9 or 10 years old, a Jewish refugee from Nazism. He went to Watford Grammar School, attended Balliol and New College, Oxford, and he was elected president of the Oxford Union in 1950. He graduated with a first-class honours degree in politics and economics and has a long CV. Do have a look on Wikipedia if you're interested. But became head of Nuffield College and had long terms at the Sorbonne and at Harvard. So I went to meet him in Standlake. He was a sprightly man in his late 80s. I explained what the project was about, and I was asking him for an artefact to represent our refugees coming to Oxfordshire in his role as patron. And he suggested, over a couple of hours, the first meeting, several artefacts which he related to coming to the UK. They were often ceremonial items or inherited from his parents. So, for example, there was cutlery and crockery. I asked him if he'd got anything which related to him as a child, coming to the UK in 1939, and he said that he had nothing. So we settled on a tankard, and I left, and I was quite happy with that. Until the following night he rang me, and he said, I had forgotten that I'd got a bear. And I said, oh yes, Uwe. And he then related over about half an hour a long story that I just let him relate to me. And basically, the story of the bear is this, is that in 1939, Uwe's family were helped to come to Britain by a Wehrmacht officer, a German army officer, who had befriended the Kitzinger family. And the Wehrmacht officer and his wife and a small child, 3 years old, came to Berlin airport in 1939 to put Uwe and his family on a plane to Britain. And at the point of departure, Uwe gave his bear to the small boy whose father, Wehrmacht member, was helping them. And after some deliberation with family members, the two families had kept in touch ever since. Uwe went to Germany in April and brought back the bear. It was quite close to the deadline where the exhibition was going to be installed. And I went to see him again in Stanlake. And after about 20 minutes, it became clear that he had changed his mind about choosing the bear for the exhibition. Why? He felt, as patron of Asylum Welcome, that the bear was childish, quote. He felt it trivialised the whole issue of refugees at this difficult time. He was often being called into Asylum Welcome to work on their behalf in spite of his age. And it took several days, right at the end of this exhibition, set-up time, to persuade him. And in fact, it involved me having phone calls with family members in Germany to talk to them about it, and other also members of Uwe's family. And eventually, he did relent and allowed it to be displayed in the exhibition. Of course, the media fastened on to the bear, and it became the poster boy of Oxfordshire in 50 objects. I did say to the photographer, when he was taking, this is the photograph taken by the Oxford Mail, that there was a danger of that photograph looking like a poor ventriloquist act, for which I'm very sorry, but it became a very firm favourite with visitors, and no small part of that was the power of the bear to connect at a time when, you may remember, Syrian child refugees were at the forefront of many minds about a year ago. Thank you for listening.